We believe that he was in the South Tower. He was never recovered. There's another, another great person that died that day.
It was a near-perfect September morning. Firefighter Stephen Siller just finished his overnight shift with Squad 1, the elite unit trained to rescue other firefighters. Stephen was headed to play golf with his 3 brothers. We were pumped up because we're 4 brothers getting together to play golf. Everybody very busy. Stephen already with 5 kids. And, heard on his scanner what had happened, then he turned his truck around. The golf date would never happen. Stephen, who had dreamed of being a firefighter since he was a teen, turned his truck toward the Twin Towers, but could get only as far as the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. It was blocked, but that didn't stop him. Came to a screeching halt, got out calmly, put his gear on, and started running through the tunnel. And that tunnel is nearly 2 miles long. That heroic run, loaded down with more than 60 pounds of gear, became the driving force of the foundation created by his family in Stephen's honor. Wanted his kids to know that his dad was a hero. We didn't have any great lofty goals, starting the foundation. But when a friend of his came up with the idea of running through the tunnel like he did, I said, oh my God, please. You just know the right thing when you hear it. The race, called Tunnel to Towers, is part of the nationally recognized Stephen Siller Foundation and has raised more than $70 million. The whole day is just a great celebration of everybody's life that was lost that day.
Stephen will be turning 50 in November?
November 15th, he would have been turning 50, yes.
What kind of 50-year-old do you think Stephen would have made?
I think he would have been a very young 50-year-old. Loved being a firefighter, so he'd still definitely be a firefighter. He would have had over 20 years already. He would have been able to retire, but there's no way he would have retired. He loved the challenge of being able to save people. Knowing Stephen, he probably liked the fear factor involved. He had guts. He loved that brotherhood.
If you could talk to Stephen one more time, what would you tell him?
I'm proud of you. All your siblings are, your kids are, your wife is, but the whole community is. You really did something special, Steve.
What was supposed to be a quiet day for Hillary Clinton has turned into a drama-filled day. We are outside of Chelsea Clinton's home. This is where Hillary Clinton was brought by her campaign after the campaign says she felt overheated. She left a little bit before noon, and she seemed okay to reporters that were waiting outside to get a glimpse of her. She even paused to take a photo with a little girl before getting in the van, and she is now at her home in Chappaqua. Remember, this was supposed to be a quiet day for Hillary Clinton. Nothing about it was supposed to be political. She had no other events other than her visit to the 9/11 memorial planned for today. Of course, the episode this morning is raising more questions about her health, especially with her issue of her health having become such a politically sensitive issue this campaign cycle. Certainly, we will see Trump allies and some of Hillary Clinton's critics continue to raise more questions about the state of her health. The campaign insists that she is feeling fine, but has not said anything more other than she was feeling overheated. Also, one other thing to watch out for is whether this potentially changes her plans for the coming week. She was set to travel to the West Coast on Monday, tomorrow, so we'll see if what happened today will end up affecting those campaign plans.
How many of you have really vivid memories of your dads? Like what? Okay, tell me a story.
I always describe my dad as like the life of the party. He was very chatty. I guess I get that from him. He was like a big kid, so he had 4 daughters, no sons, so obviously he wanted us to play sports, and he was very actively involved. One of my favorite memories is from when I was about 6 or 7. He took us all sledding. I had this great idea that I wanted him to lay on the sled on his stomach, and I would sit on his back, and we would go down this gigantic hill. At the end, like, we were laughing. My dad's like, it's really cold, and he rolled over and realized the sled was still at the top of the hill. We were going down on his belly the entire time, so that one, I mean, we laughed pretty hard about that, and a lot of my memories, he loved to make everybody laugh, so if he could make you laugh, he would do it, and I think that's honestly like what kept my family together afterwards, because we had so many funny memories and good times.
As I'm looking at all of you, and I'm sure, you know, traits of your dad obviously are running through all of you. I mean, do you do things, say things where your, you know, your parent or your family friend says, "Oh my gosh, that was so your dad"? Yeah?
We have a photo in our basement of my dad when he was very young, and he was on the swim team, and it looks like freakishly identical to Kevin.
Yeah.
Like so much so when people come over to visit, they think that it's a photo of him.
How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel good. You know, I've always heard and I've seen he's a pretty handsome guy. So,
So you got good genes is what you're telling me. Who else?
Yeah, I get those kind of like, you know, backhanded compliments where my mom will roll her eyes and be like, "That was such, you know, something your father would do," and it's like some mannerism or tick that I'm like, I don't think that's a compliment, but thanks. At least, you know, it's reminding you of him.
It's been 15 years and getting older and just not having your dad. What are those moments when his absence is so noticeable? Caroline.
I was very, very young when I lost him, and I didn't understand what was happening until I was probably like a couple years older, but there was never that sense of like closure with it, almost like a punch in the stomach, like I'm never gonna see him again, like he's never gonna come back.
When was the last punch in the stomach moment for you?
It actually happened the other day. I was like laying in bed, and I actually felt like something like touched me in like a way that like he was there and he was saying like, "You're gonna be okay, and you can like get through what you're doing right now. I'm sorry." And it was just like him putting his hand on my shoulder and saying like, "I'm so proud of you." Thank you.
You felt him?
Yeah.
How many of you feel him, feel his presence?
Well, he was a big fan of the Giants football team. My grandfather used to take him to all the games. I was a big fan of Giants. My mom, she remembered that she had this jersey that he would always wear to all the games. She went into the attic and got it, and now I have it, which is like, it's really nice. I have something that was his. I like something that he liked, even though I didn't know about it.
I can't imagine like your darkest, toughest times, but I read about you as a 7-year-old. Do you mind sharing what you told your mom?
Yeah, I was 7 years old at the time, so this was few months after. And
what happened?
After sort of, I finally like processed everything a little bit. And I was kind of in a bad place, sort of. Didn't really like fully get the concept of dying and not coming back and things like that, but sort of kind of was telling my mom I wanted to be in the same place my dad was, you know, just to be with him. Obviously looking back sounds kind of frightening, but.
You were having thoughts as a 7-year-old that you wanted to end your life.
Yes.
Juliet, tell me about your dad's helmet.
My dad's fire department was Hazmat 1 and Squad 288. They were the single most lost on 9/11. They lost pretty much everyone. The guys that worked in the firehouse that weren't working that day, they were the only ones left. So there was a lot of disorganization in the firehouse. Nobody knew what to do. All of the firehouses kind of all over the city were in shambles. There were just missing lists, hundreds and hundreds of people on missing lists. I actually we have the copy of the first missing list that was sent out just for my dad's firehouse, which none of them were ever found. It was around the time of February, I believe, that my mother and some of the other widows from the same firehouse, they went to a psychic, and the psychic told them things that no one would have ever known. She specifically told my mother that she saw my dad's badge number as clear as day. And my mom said that's impossible. They never found him. They never found anything. So she called up the same retired fireman that had called her the day of 9/11 because he was a very good friend of my dad's. And he contacted someone, I believe from one of the medical examiner's offices who was leading searches, and they found my dad's helmet. And if you've ever held a fireman's helmet, they are heavy. They're heavy, they're solid metal parts of them, solid glass, and the helmet is crushed to about this big. the entire thing. It is unrecognizable. But the badge number, which is made out of a sticker, is perfectly intact. For me, that's kind of my only sort of closure that was definite that he was gone.
Where is that helmet today?
It's in my mom's bedroom. It's not something you would want to look at. It's very, very difficult to look at. But it is there for my family to have. It was something of his, and it was something that was with him during his last moments. But it's just bittersweet.
This is bad.
There were 2 planes. I saw the second one hit.
It's like the world just stopped.
CNN Films presents 9/11, 15 years later. Sunday, September 11th at 8 on CNN.